Welcome back to Off the Tap. This week we are doing Galveston Bay Brewing Company's Captain's Coffee Stout, and it is episode 40 or episode 9 of season 2.
I appreciate coming out of the gate, you making sure to put the proper emphasis on the hyphenated name. Captain's Coffee Stout, because you've yet to successfully capture the use of an apostrophe S or possessive in general for any of the beers that we've done thus far. So kudos. It only took 9 episodes into season 2 and 40, because I'm going to just assume you were incapable in previous seasons of also delivering on that piece of grammatical delivery.
Hey man, somebody else do the intro, if you're going to sit here and judge me for it every time.
I would definitely freeze up right at the old, this is episode, and then just crack out. You know what I mean?
Well, I've done it before. I've had to restart an episode because of it. Luckily, right at the beginning, so, not bad.
Ain't no retakes in this game, baby. We're
Yeah.
transparent. We just run it through.
So this bad boy's coming in at an 8.6 ABV. Obviously, it's a stout, so that's to be expected. And 55 on the IBU scale.
Comparative, I mean, I guess it's a stout, but comparative in a comparative nature to the rest of the beers that we've been doing over the past 8 weeks. This is by far the most bitter, right?
Yes. I would say by about 30 points minimum.
Yeah, well, close. Yeah, 25 or better.
Yeah.
You said this is 60? What?
55.
55. Also, okay, so here's the thing. I don't want to out of the gate not start trashing, because you know that I have a tendency to do that. And sometimes I'm corrected, or I guess I'm happily led the opposite direction, but not a huge stout fan. I like stouts, but not a huge stout fan. I don't necessarily like coffee beards, and this is also Galveston Bay Brewing, which pretty much lets me down consistently. So we're gonna see how today goes.
Now, I don't know if I've ever had a Galveston Bay, but we did do the Galveston Island.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me retract those words. You're right. Galveston Island. I don't know about Galveston Bay.
I don't think I've ever done
Lord,
a Galveston Bay.
dude, look at the
Ooh.
smokestack just slowly filling itself, consuming itself, but
Oh
also
yeah,
growing. Yeah.
it's dark. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of stouts either, but I think the coffee stouts are my favorite of the
Mm-hmm.
of the ones I've had. Not a fan of milk stouts. We did the Dragon's Milk, which I believe is a milk stout, on the podcast, and whew, hooey,
Not so good.
wasn't the biggest fan. I mean, it wasn't horrible. The white version was horrible, but the regular Dragon's Milk is okay. Uh,
Dude, also what's crazy is Galveston Bay Brewing is in Dickinson, Texas.
which is nowhere close to Galveston.
I don't know in proximity. I'm about to Google Maps it. I'm assuming it's got to be close. Otherwise, there'd be like uproar in the streets and people would be boycotting it.
I mean,
I
maybe.
think.
What if the owner was just from Galveston Bay area?
Possibly. We're gonna look it up.
You know. Um, but yeah, I mean, 8.6. It is higher than anything else we've done recently as well, but uh, it doesn't seem super high for a stout. Like when I
No,
think of
no.
stouts, I think of like 10 minimum.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I've had some 13. I'm not saying that's par for the course, but I think I've seen some 13s.
Yeah.
All right, so Dickinson, Texas, in regards to, I mean, it's really close. It's like right before you get to Texas City, Lamarck, before you go across the causeway, I guess.
Okay. So it's
So
not too bad.
south of League City, not quite into Lamarck, but before you hit the causeway. So it's close enough.
Fair enough. We'll let it slide this time.
Yeah, yeah. Any
I'm gonna,
further north though? No, sir.
oh, no.
South Houston Brewing at best at that point.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna get into this and give it a taste.
Yeah, I will too. I'm waiting for a little more head to dissipate, but
Okay. Again, it's a coffee stout.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
There's a lot
not.
of coffee flavor coming through, and I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it at all. So here's the thing: it's not just the fact that it's a stout, so it has like some really dark roasted tones to it. Anyways, it should. It actually is fermented with cold brew.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's what it says on the can. So we talked about ABVs yet again. There's two categories that I think should be included in beers, especially of this stoutness, pun intended. We talked about ABVs and IBUs, but what about CALs, right? Because this
Yeah.
also feels very cal heavy. And then caffeine in this case. I wonder if it's caffeinated.
Ooh, yeah, I would like to know that because that could be a massive deal breaker for me.
Bro, and yeah. Uh, I don't know. Let's look at it.
Uh, Caffeine does not sit well with me. It's one of the reasons that I'm sad I can't really drink coffee, but um no, I think this is good. You know what though? It most like coffee stouts to me have a lot more flavor of like a straight black coffee. And in this one, I don't know if it's real or not or if my head's just messing with me, but I can taste like a little bit of a creamer.
It could be the head, like you know how the head has it.
Mm,
Well, you don't have necessarily have some in there, but I can see that. That's not too mind blowing. You don't let. I mean, your mind's not leading you astray in that regard.
okay. Because I definitely taste like a little bit of extra flavor in there. I'm not exactly sure how it's brewed or whatnot, but pretty good though. I'm in. Most usually the time of the year for me to drink coffee stouts or stouts in general is when it's cold out because I feel like that little extra alcohol in it hits your blood a little harder, warms you up a little bit. Unfortunately, I missed out on having this during the super cold times that we just went through, so I
Yeah,
imagine it would have been great for that time.
yeah, it's crazy because they're saying, keeping to the theme of Galveston Bay, right? That nautical approach. I think the can itself says, with cold brewed coffee added after fermentation. So it's definitely probably caffeinated, by the way. This strong roasty stout goes just as well with an afternoon adrift on the high seas as it does with a night in. So they're not making a play on those cold winter months. They're basically saying, hey, we know it continues to be blazingly hot as hell out there and you're on a boat, but enjoy this rich, dark, coffeed beverage.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna see how the caffeine hits me as we go on here. That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know, but hey, I tell you what, first impressions are drastically better based on the can itself. Because I mean, I'm a branding guy. I think it's a lame ass can, to be honest with you. And also, um, what?
No, I agree. I think they could have done a little bit more on the design of the can. I mean, I like the idea, right? It's a cool idea, like the name of it and everything. But if you're gonna name it after like a captain's coffee, throw an anchor on there, bro. Throw something on there. You know what I mean? Let's really market this toward that segment. You know what I mean?
Y- And I see what they're trying to do with the burlap sack. Green coffee beans are usually shipped in a burlap sack. So I understand what they're trying to do there, but I'm just not a taker on on the branding of it. But it tastes way better considering it's coffee. I don't necessarily like to mix my coffee with beers. And it's a stout, and I stand corrected, but it's Galveston Bay versus Galveston Island, so they get a free pass on the fact that their neighbors suck a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of, so I was thinking of this as actually we had chatted a little bit, but I was thinking about this because I realized that I use the same glass like every week. I use
Hmm.
the same Pilsner glass. I have a number of these Pilsner glasses, but I just use one, and then there's some time in between the podcast, so obviously we do dishes, and then I put this one back there, and then it's the easiest one, so I grab it. So we have like 8 of them. I only use the one. Okay. And it got me thinking. Which, hear me out. I'm gonna have to build a foundation here, and then eventually we'll get to where I'm going. Okay. But it made me think, like, are all of the other glasses then jealous of this one glass because he's the only one with a life. You know what I'm saying? Like all the other ones, they just stay in that cabinet, and then like that cabinet door opens and the hand comes in. They're like, ooh, 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 today will be the day. And then I just grab the same one, right? And he's also probably an asshole when he goes back. He's like, you guys aren't gonna believe this. You guys are not gonna believe this. 2 coffee stouts, a little pinch of milk after he got done, and he rinsed me out with warm water. Like just living the dream. That's the dream of a Pilsner glass, okay?
Right, right.
So then, so I assume that they're jealous of this particular glass. So now, consciously, I'm gonna have to make an effort to mix it up a little bit and just make the
Right.
life, the year of that particular Pilsner glass.
This glass is
Okay.
listening to you right now, and he's pissed off that you're.
He he is. Which brings me to the next point. Okay. Then I got to thinking. I was like, so most people are familiar with Toy Story. Okay. So what if glasses also are like toys? Okay. And they can hear us, they know what's going on, and they can also communicate. And there's this whole crazy world when we go to bed or when we shut that cabinet or whatever the case may be. Okay. But the trippy part, then I even thought more, and I was like, hey, what if the glasses can communicate? They're anthropomorphic, they have human like qualities, but they exist in a different time space continuum or like universe than the toys themselves, you see. So the toys, they can act like, they can communicate, they walk around, they have certain things, but to them a glass is still an inanimate object. But to the glass, the toy is also an inanimate object.
Yeah.
And the saddest part about this whole thing, now that I've said it out loud, is like I haven't drank anything or had any drugs today. Like that is legitimately
Yeah.
just something that I thought of consciously. It was a spark. It was a quick thought. It was like, hey, I wonder if this glass is I wonder if they can communicate with the. Wait a second. What if they don't? So I probably have some type of like ADD or something like that. But think about it though. I need comments on this. I need to understand if that seems feasible. If okay, you have to first subscribe to the fact that Toy Story could be a thing, and that's a deal breaker for most people. I get it. But if that were real, why couldn't this be? Thoughts? Go. Tell me apart. Tell me why not.
Listen. I'm
Prove
not
me
gonna
wrong.
tear. I'm not gonna tear you apart because I'm a very strong believer in the multiverse, the fact that there's multiple simultaneous universes going on, right? And not all of them are the same. There's absolutely zero reason for that. So I'm definitely on the train that this could be a thing. But
This is a very
here's my thing, really quick. Is there a universe in which the human knows that the glass is not an inanimate object?
I don't know.
They can
Well,
talk back and forth?
aside from most Disney films, I wouldn't say
Right.
so.
Yeah, kind of like Beauty and the Beast, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
well, do they
No,
talk to
they're
the people?
they do.
The
Yeah, they
candlestick
talk
and
to
stuff?
Belle. They talk to Belle.
Okay, that's what I thought. Dude, it's been
But
like a
but
decade
also
plus since I've
but
seen it.
also that's a whole different scenario because they're just people that are trapped under a curse
That's true.
as inanimate objects. So that's probably not an effective example, but I like where your mind's at.
Right? Because
Onward.
like think about this way. Think about this. Like you pour that beer into that glass, and that glass tastes it with its glass skin, right? And
And
it
it's just
goes, it,
wasted.
and it goes, oh, dude, you're gonna like this one, and it kind of lets you know, it gives you a little, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, let's get it, and you
I
kind of got
guess
like a
if
little
you're
buddy to watch sports with all the time.
I guess if you're tight with your glass, I got a little tight glass on my hand though. What an
Yeah,
ass.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean I get that, but so this is talking about the whole time thing. We're not going to go off on a tangent, but like this is the kind of argument. Although it be absolutely idiotic, this is like a Neil deGrasse situation. We just need to tell him, is this feasible? Like ask him if this is feasible, and he'd be like, I mean, yeah, multiple universes for sure.
I mean,
Times all that
there's
things.
no doubt in my mind that he would say it's feasible because everything's made up of the same molecules. That's what he's gonna
Oh,
say.
but he also does love the guy to death, but he also defaults to that whenever I think he gets stuck. He's like, listen, 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 listen.
Everything's
Let me
made up of the same
just
thing.
let me give you an example here. Let me give you an example here. And then he just goes into the fact that everything's carbon and oxygen and hydrogen.
I mean, it's true though, right? I mean, I'll tell you what,
Well, it
I would
is.
I would love to live in I would love and also be terrified at first if there was a or a situation such as Toy Story, or in this case the glasses and silverware and whatnot. Like if I walked in and all the dishes that were in the sink were just like having a dance party or some shit, they're having like a rave in the sink. That would freak me out the first time, but then you kind of adjust and you'd be like, "Oh,
I think
okay."
if we were transplanted into it now, yeah, a little alarming. Okay.
Right, but if you were growing up with it,
Yeah, well, let's
it's all
also
you've
be
known.
honest. If we were growing up, this is going to be a hard line that we're going to have to toe very carefully, but if we grew up with it, then immediately we would have found a way to capitalize on the fact that they can do everything for us very very quickly. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe
Why else
like
would they stay
uh,
in your home?
like what do you mean do everything for us?
Like I'm just saying, we would not be no one would ever be washing dishes ever again because
Okay,
they'd be
but
washing themselves.
do the plates and stuff have arms and legs, or are they just plates?
Doesn't matter. They're just plates, but
They have
the
no way to
toys
wash.
have arms and legs.
Yeah, so you're saying in a world where all of it's animate together?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, if there's different universes, then you would want to pick one where I think I would want to pick the one where toys were real because we could just make them do everything.
Yes. Yeah, they could
Yeah.
clean up themselves.
A plate with an attitude is not something that I need. You know what I'm saying? I don't need a plate with an opinion if they're not capable of being beneficial to me. Okay? Yeah.
Also,
I
are
understand that I overcooked the steak. I get it. It was 3 weeks ago. Get over it. You know what I mean?
right, and also are the glasses gonna bitch at you while they're in the cupboard, while they're in the cabinet.
Yeah.
So like just while you're walking around the whole day, you can just hear these arguments and talking all the time. Or I guess that's yeah, like that's the case in which the human knows that it's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, in a Toy Story situation, the silverware and glasses and whatnot would be hiding it from the humans. So
Yeah, I could just see it already though, dude. I open that cupboard and I grab this one and then you just hear the one in the back go, "Oh, okay."
of
Yeah.
course, should have known that was
That's
coming.
how original, you
Hey
know?
Greg, fuck you.
Yeah, typical Tuesday night, and he remains useless to us all.
Yeah. Or,
Actually,
they're useless to
actually,
me.
actually, they would very quickly bail if they could wobble around. Like you would just. This sounds
You
terrible
think
too. They would start knocking this
they would just end it?
end it. Yeah, knocking themselves out of the cabinet. I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I'm gonna martyr
He's gonna
myself here in hopes that he steps on my ass in the morning. You know.
it's been about 6.5 days, guys. He's almost coming to open the door. Get ready. This is our chance. It's like
Ouch.
that. It's like the scene from the other guys. Think of what I'm thinking. Aim for the bushes, and they just splat on the concrete. Just shatter on the kitchen floor, though. I can
Yeah,
see it
there's
though.
just.
I'm about it.
Anyways, I was just thinking about that because then you know that we're preferential to everything, right? There's the ongoing jokes about everybody has their favorite burner on the stove. Everybody unanimously understands that. Like there's just one that you use more than the others, okay?
Yeah.
Um,
I can see
and
the
so
dialogue for that being hilarious too.
yeah, I mean everybody has a
Man,
justification.
he's really making me hot today, guys.
Well, that or also he could
Fuck
just
you,
be like
Jared.
that. That or he could just be like a worn out bastard too. Like as soon as the pot comes over, all the rest of the young ones are like, he's whooping your ass today. But so I could see that. And then for glasses and stuff, obviously everybody has a preference. Um, yeah, I think we do it with everything. So there's not a circumstance where they wouldn't have an attitude or wouldn't have an opinion if they were, they had, you know, anthropomorphic such, qualities.
Yeah. Are you like that with your silverware too, or do you not pay attention to the silverware as much?
No, I have specifics with silverware, but it depends on what I'm eating. Like, I know this sounds stupid, but like if I'm eating like a steak or like chicken or like something that I'm cutting, then I use like a certain set of forks that we have. But if I'm eating breakfast for some reason, we have these super cheap, like 50 cent, like they look like they were stamped out of a piece of sheet metal. We have two of
Mm.
them because we got them for the kids when they were learning how to eat, but with a big fork. And we have two of them. And like for some reason, dude, I only eat breakfast with that. And by that, I mean, those are mutually, like, they are mutually exclusive. So, like, I'm not going to eat breakfast without that fork, but I only use that fork for breakfast.
Gotcha.
See what I'm saying?
Here's another solid question that could relate to this is are like silverware and glasses and ceramic plates and whatnot in the same category as plasticware and plastic cups. So like in this universe, are all of those animate?
Yeah, I think if it were an animated film, they would be of different races.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
don't I
yeah.
don't I don't want to get into, which would be which and whatnot because
No, 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 for sure.
no matter
Uh,
what is said, it
okay, let me phrase it this
can
way.
be said wrong.
They would be from different, like, you know how sometimes there's like a
I would say
like a
different class structure more than
N-
anything.
I mean, well, now you're really drawing some lines in the sand. But I would say there's like I would say more so, like, you know how they go to a cut scene with Toy Story, and it'll be like in France, and it's like wee, and like all of them are like wooden toys, but they have a mustache. It would be kind of
Mm,
like that. You know what I mean?
yes. So more geographically based than
Yeah,
anything.
geographical, I
So
think.
Americans would have a bunch of plastic stuff because we just don't care about the environment. That's what it is, bro. The plastic ones are the a-holes. The plastics
Yes.
over it, they're the a-holes that are they don't care about, the environment and they don't care about things or whatever. They just come in and ruin the vibe for all the other glassware.
100%. And then like your super ritzy like serving platters and your solid silvers and like your real decorative forks,
They think they're
obviously would
better than
come from
everyone else
they would come from like a European British country or
yeah.
whatever, something like that.
And they're real touty, real think they're the best thing on the planet.
Yeah, I don't
What
know
about
why
a
you
what about a charcuterie board?
mm,
We're diving
I would
deep
go
right now.
no, we are, but I would go somewhere that's like very fruitful with their, I don't want to say fruitful, but they're very free flowing with their love of spirits and beers. So like maybe they were from
Italy,
Germany or maybe Italy.
Italy,
There you go. Well, yeah, Italy for sure. I don't know where the
or
charcuterie board. It's
California.
French, right? Yeah, 100%. They would be plastic charcuterie boards, but yes,
Yeah, yeah, it'd be the plastic ones. Yeah,
recycled, of course. Recycled, of course.
hmm yeah, recyclable.
Mhm.
They get mad when you throw them in the regular trash can.
So, I mean, anyways, it was just a thought that had come to me. And so I was like, I feel bad for the rest of the cups. What's happening around us? It was a far fetched idea, but it was built on the premise that, like, there are multiple things happening all at once that we're unaware of. And that could be one of them. That's one. That wouldn't be the worst, honestly. You know?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't. It
Yeah,
would.
like cars and things like that. That could get a little sketchy. People, they would just be committing mass murder, and there's nothing we could do about it.
Yeah,
Terrible.
yeah. Instead, they're just not. They're committing it on themselves, jumping out of a
Yeah,
cupboard.
you're I
So,
guess you're right.
okay, you have a glass you use pretty much weekly for the podcast, just out of
That's
a pure routine. Do you have
absolutely.
the same thing for your coffee? Do you have
I
a
do.
specific
So
mug, or do you switch it up?
I have like three. So we have
Okay.
okay, so we have an infinite number of coffee cups. The problem's even worse with coffee cups. We've got probably, and in fact, it's an ongoing joke with Katie and I, but we probably have no doubt 35 coffee cups. Okay. And those aren't like the travel ones. Like that's just straight up ceramic coffee cups. And our joke everywhere we go, she's like, "Ooh, should I get this coffee cup?" And I'm like, "No, you definitely should not." Um, so anyways, I have about four. I have like a few that are just my go-tos. And then like the ones that are generic that are like the standard like white ones that came in a set obviously at some point. I never use those. Katie loves those. I'm just not a big fan. So I use random ones. But I would say that those are my favorites. In fact, if they're dirty in the sink or if they're in the dishwasher, I will wash them and use them before I use one that's in the cupboard. Like that's how selfish I guess I am, or how uh, preferential with treatment I am of the particular uh,
Ceramic mug.
yeah, ceramic mug.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Obviously, like I said, I don't really get to drink coffee, so I don't really. I mean, I can drink decaf. I just don't very often.
And my favorite one is from, well, I have a couple of favorite ones, but one of my favorite ones is a generic coffee cup that came from when I used to work for the coffee company. It was like
Okay.
one of the standard, which is not there anymore, but it was one of the standard ones that was like, I don't want to say issued, but they were just everywhere for staff to use. Um, because everybody was drinking coffee all day long. And that's still one of my favorites. Even though it's just a generic coffee cup, for some reason it's just my go-to.
When you
It
start
gets used
working at
every day.
a coffee place, do they put you on a quick list for kidney transplants?
Listen, I'm sure there's people that don't like coffee, but like they're pretty much everybody is a bunch of smokers and a bunch of
Mm.
coffee drinkers. That's just the staff there. Um,
I feel like that's
everybody
just two
love.
things that go hand in hand.
Oh yeah, man. I think I'm pretty sure like the coffee was invented by someone smoking a cigarette, and then as soon as they stopped, they were like, can't do it without it.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but then there were like guys I felt so bad for the guys in the lab because like that was legitimately their job. Like they would literally get beans in every day,
Drink coffee.
fresh fresh beans. They would roast them and they would brew a crap ton of coffee. They had to do every batch. Every batch of beans that came in that day, they would have to quality control. And the only way to quality control them
My
ultimately,
God.
yeah. I mean, they're spitting out most of it, but like, dude, they probably would have,
Dude, RIP to the
35.
teeth, though, man.
Oh yeah, 35, 45 batches of beans come in a day.
You don't brush that off.
Oh no.
That's a
No.
deep stain.
And I'll also equate them to like fancy like pot growers because they're just super creative in what they're trying to make, like what they're trying to develop. It's mind
Mm.
blowing. Like they had a when I was there, they had a whole cold brew like just out of for funsies that they were making in the lab, and it seemed real sketchy. It was set up like a little bitty meth lab, but it was just this cold brew system, and it was phenomenal cold brew, but it just looked real shady. It was a bunch of 5 gallon buckets and like plastic tubing and stuff. It was really weird.
Out there, Walter
Um,
Browning, you know?
yes,
Brown because
white.
coffee. No, well, brown because coffee.
I'm glad
Uh,
that you connected those dots on your end, but didn't give me a heads up. I was like, I
yeah.
think I get it.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah.
Or
Anyways,
Walter
so
Black coffee.
and they also, yeah, for sure, they were also they were seeking to fulfill the need for everything as far as coffee went. Like they would literally be like, "Hey, I got this buddy.
Hmm.
Yeah, so he goes Peruvian but Hawaiian blend. You know, 27 70. I don't know what the split is 100% on beans there, but like anyways, they would just like go through like these crazy, or oh, you can only roast it this hard, and then afterwards I put the canister on ice. I just let all the smoke dissipate inside the chamber, and I was just like, this seems like overkill, guys. But they were just really into their coffee, and there was some phenomenal stuff that came out of there. But they were like, it's probably because they were caffeined out of their mind all day long.
Yeah, I imagine it's like it's. I mean, that's almost the equivalent of being coked out. I imagine.
I mean, and
I
I don't
mean,
know what the lifespan was of those folks, but it couldn't have been too long, at least in a healthy state.
no, no way, dude. That much caffeine is so bad for you. I mean, I get like you said, they were spitting a lot of it out, but still, it can't be great for your health, regardless. I think.
No, but I just remember it being so hilarious. Like I'd get a phone call and they would be like, "Hey, we got some stuff in today. You should come down here." And I'd be like, "What?" And they were like, "The eagle has landed. Can you please come to the?" And I would get
I
there and it would
can't.
be
I can't
freshly
be too
roasted.
specific over the phone. People are listening.
We're gonna need you to come up to the lab. We got a batch that's failing from production, and then I would walk up there and I would be like, "Hey, this isn't. We're not running this." And they're like, "Shh." Come in the back here. Come in the
Just,
back here.
hey, bro, sip, pass, man.
But again, not to go too far down a rabbit hole. But there's a couple of things too that are misnomers, right? So we're making fun of I mean, not making the fun. It's a stout, and it's a dark stout because everybody assumes this is the misnomer about coffee, in my opinion, right? I can't speak for everyone, but the misnomer about coffee is that in order for it to be a good cup of coffee, it needs to be black as night and bitter and stout and just super strong.
Hmm.
When in reality, and I used to feel the same way, and I still love a super thick, super rich, super bitter cup of coffee. I still like that because I'm conditioned to it. But my favorite coffees after hanging out with the caffeine gang was like super light, super fruity, light roasted beans, almost like a tea coffee blend. If for those that drink, hot teas. Oh man, and they still pack the same punch. You still get the same effect. It has the same drinkability, but it's just something about super fresh, light roasted, good quality beans will make anyone. I firmly believe this, a coffee drinker, aside from the caffeine addiction that you have developed. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Whenever I was getting into coffee before it started messing with my bladder real bad, um, I I really enjoy the cold brew. I think it's a smoother taste. I think you get more flavor out of the bean that way and whatnot. But also, it has more of the caffeine in it, so that's probably why it wasn't bad. I mean, why it wasn't good for me.
Ah,
Um, but big medium roast guy here. I was right in the middle. I didn't like it too dark or too light. I liked the medium, it was like one of the recommended roasts for cold brew in particular. I don't know
gotcha.
exactly why. I don't know the science behind it, but um, I think man, it just I don't know I really love it. I want to drink more of it, but I
Well,
can't.
do they make decaffeinated cold brews? I imagine.
No, you can get decaf iced coffee. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but
Well, could you make your own decaffeinated cold brew? This is a question I feel like I should know the answer to, but I don't.
probably you probably could. I mean, I could try it. I don't know how good it would taste, but imagine it couldn't be bad.
I would say it's probably worth a shot if you really like coffee. Because I don't want to say I overdo it. I definitely have an affinity for caffeine.
Mm,
Um, but I want one in the morning. And I'm not and obviously we don't drink decaffeinated, but like I don't like the way decaffeinated tastes, but if I could find a decaffeinated coffee that tasted fully caffeinated, then
yeah,
I could do that in the morning. For me, it's
that's the
almost
struggle for sure.
oh yeah, for sure. But for me, I think it's more of like smokers that they just want that cigarette in their in their hand, right?
Hmm.
They just it's just it's a habit. I think I'm that way a lot with coffee, but here's the thing, all day long. Like at any
Yeah.
point in time, somebody could be like, "Hey, you want a cup of coffee?" I'm like, "Yeah, I could do a pot or two." You know?
Hmm. That could also just be the caffeine addiction talking. You're just trying to
It
justify it in some way.
it it could be, the first step is admitting, but we're not there yet apparently.
I mean, we've all been there. We've all been with some kind of addiction, whether it be tobacco or caffeine or sugar or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer with coffee though that if you get the right bean and the right roast, you should need absolutely nothing added to it. No
Oh,
sugar,
100%.
no creamer, nothing. You get the right bean and the right roast and the right style of brew, you should be able to drink it straight out of the pot with nothing.
100% agree. The other thing that's crazy is like much like everything in life, it's mind-blowing how different the like what process you use, the science you use to get to
Hmm.
that point, how much it changes the flavor. I would say and the experience and the mouthfeel and all the other things. Um I would almost say that probably one of the most, and maybe it's because we really enjoy it as a society, but I think it's one of the things that is everyone's hyper aware of like what they like in coffee and what they don't. And so every intricate piece of the process of getting from ground to cup is way overcomplicated in a good
Yeah.
way so that because we just love it that much.
Yeah, and that's what gives you so many different options, right? Flavor wise. Because if
Yeah.
you go into a coffee aisle now, dude, I mean, first of all, there's an entire coffee aisle like there is like a drink aisle now. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's always been a lot of coffee options, but I feel like that's been amplified over the last few years that I've noticed, or like not few years, maybe like 7, 8 years.
Yeah, and
Um, there's just so many different flavors and like styles of. There's so many you can even if you like get the beans yourself and
grind them.
grind them. You can do like different size grinds to get different flavors
Yeah.
and whatnot. It's just there's so much to look into when you're trying to get into it.
Yeah, I would be very interested to know, like, I'm sure that Galveston Bay, and this is all respect, I'm sure Galveston Bay truly respects the ingredients that they use in their beers, the processes they use, and how they're generating this particular beer. But do they take the same consideration for the coffee that they use in the brewing process?
Or are they just using some pre-bottled cold brew mix
Just
from Starbucks or something?
not like the Kirkland coffee, but no rip on Costco. I'm talking about the one that they put in the break room for the employees, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. The ones that they ain't selling to customers.
Yeah, the canister that's left open, it's just like it should be part of a feed additive for like some type of rodent that's brought home as a pet, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Just to be clear, that's not what I'm saying this beer tastes like. And we're just
Oh, no, 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 no,
wondering.
no, no. No, no, no. It's far from, well, not far from, I'm joking. No, this is actually really good. But I'm just saying, I wonder if that's what they're using or they take the same pride as I assume. In fact, I'm going to say that they do in manufacturing their beer if they take the same pride in the coffee that they're putting in it.
Yeah, I wonder. That's a solid question to ask if you ever run into him. The
They
owner.
have They have all of them are on tap, which is great because you don't always get that. I saw that online. Every single
Hmm.
thing that they put out is always on tap, aside from their seasonals, at the Dickinson location.
Well, that's good.
I think that's something that if we're gonna do local beers, we should include because we kind of went down that with Back Pew a couple of weeks ago,
Hmm.
last week maybe. And I think that's good to include, especially for people that are going to be listening that could actually go to the more local places. What they have seasonal, how the setup goes, and we should almost do at some point a seasonal tour. Like, we hit 5 different breweries that we've already experienced on the podcast just to check out their tap rooms and say how it is. Do a whole episode on that.
Oh, I'd be down for that. We could make that happen.
Ow.
Um, yeah, but speaking of like how or like people making the beer, people making coffee, right? I think something that's always been crazy to me and that's blown my mind a little bit the more I think about it, and the more that I'm in these situations is how much we just trust strangers to do things correctly.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, but like, what choice do we have? Like, I mean, I get it. Like, a lot of things have to go right every day in order for us to not die.
Yeah.
But like, what choice do we have? Well, actually, hold on. Let me back up. Let
Now
me
we
back up.
really don't have a choice. It depends. It all depends on what kind of lifestyle you want to live, really. I mean, you could
Dude,
do everything yourself, but your life's gonna suck, you know.
2 things real quick. One, um, you're right. I don't know if we would be able to get along as a society if we didn't trust more people. It is very sketchy. Obviously, it doesn't work out for everyone because people are killing people.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, this is why, dude, it used to always alarm me. And here's the big difference. You ever watch, I'm not going to get off topic, but this does tie in. You ever watch like the old school Western movies?
Hmm.
Right? So like people are just at their house, right? And then like somebody would show up and immediately there was just like, I don't like this character. And you're like, you don't even know this dude, bro. Like
Yeah.
why all of a sudden are you like, let me get my pistol out and pistol whip this dude over the face? Like he hasn't even gotten to your door yet. Like calm down, bud. And I think maybe that's what it is. Maybe just over time we've developed more trust because we had to survive. But also at
Maybe.
one point trust was not a good survival skill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was again, yeah, like you said, different times, right? So we've just kind of adjusted over time. But like back then, especially in the West, as it's been told at least, uh, you were pretty much fighting for everything you had all the time, regardless.
Yeah.
So you were
Yeah.
really trusting nobody unless they were like literally your neighbor. You know what I mean? Even then, not really, but like you trusted them more than someone,
Yeah, I feel you.
you know.
Unless they were like the McCoys. Huh?
Yeah, in the
Anyway.
Hatfields, you know. Hatfields really didn't like those people.
Um
But no,
how about it?
I mean like in general on a daily basis, think about how many people that you never have met in your life or seen that you have to trust, right? Like when you drive, just when you drive, when you go somewhere, you have to trust that the people going the same direction as you aren't going to just say screw it, boom and just hit you, right? The
Yeah.
people going opposite direction of you on a two-laner or whatever aren't just going to swerve over and head on because they're just tired of life and they don't care about yours either, you know? Like that kind of blows my mind.
I mean, I'm gonna say that I've never thought of it like that, right? That's pretty crazy. But but there's a few things that I do think of. Like you hear all the time when parents are like, it's not you I worry, like when a kid starts driving, they're
Mm-hmm.
like, it's not you that I worry about.
It's
It's
other
everyone
people.
else, right?
Yeah.
Which makes sense. But the other thing that I do think about that's kind of in line with that is like I used to all the time when I would commute a long way to work, I used to just remember like hitting traffic because it starts raining and literally just like you instantly become a player on one team that you didn't sign up for. You're just looking around like, don't fuck this up, guys. We've got an opportunity to stick together here. Please, God, don't screw this up today. Um, so I feel you. You're right. I think that's a highlight of like the trust that we just take for granted or that we just give out freely. But in that situation or in that moment, we're like, oh shit, it's a little worse than I thought it could be because like shit's hitting the fan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
and
you realize that more at that moment.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think like the thing that sparked this thought in my head was a few months ago. Well, I would think I was watching like some kind of true crime thing on ID or something, and it was talking about how uh this these two people or maybe three people had like died unexpectedly at their home, right? And it turned out that they had all taken the same medication from different bottles, though. We'll just say it was Tylenol. It wasn't Tylenol, but they were taking like Tylenol, like a normal over the counter drug, and they died. And it turned out that one of the people's wives, right, one of the guy's wives, uh, poisoned the Tylenol pills at their home in order to kill her husband. But to cover her tracks, she went to a drugstore and
Oh
put
God.
poison pills in random bottles, like randomly. So that
So
way,
that it looked
random
like it was the manufacturer or something.
right. So she was trying to cover her stuff. Obviously, they found her and found her guilty and whatnot. But I was just like, man, like that's some real like that could happen. Like
Yeah,
straight
dude.
up. I mean, obviously, there's stuff that goes wrong in manufacturing that makes people sick and stuff, and that's horrible. I'm sure people have died from that kind of stuff too. Like, what's the raw chicken stuff?
Salmonella.
Salmonella. My brain ain't working right now, but
Yeah.
salmonella poisoning and all that kind of stuff, which is horrible. But I like that kind of stuff. We just trust people to go to the store and like not mess with stuff. You know what I mean? Or like we trust random people to cook our food and not put anything in it and deliver it to our house.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is just crazy to me. That like I don't know. Like I obviously I'm still gonna do it because it makes life easier and life goes on. But
And here's the thing, it's now that you say it or you bring it up, it's like it's not trust at the highest level, like cuz think like trusting a like this is going to sound bad, but like trusting a doctor is one thing, right? They're a doctor, which also gets shady because apparently there was like nurses and people killing people or whatever. You've seen, I'm sure you've seen
yeah,
the
yeah,
documentary or
yeah.
whatever. But, so it can happen. But like to trust someone like a doctor, that's fine. But you're right. Along the way, like I stopped at a gas station and I just picked up whatever and pumped gas, like trusted that whatever they put in that tank was the right stuff that's not going to kill me. Like then
Yeah,
I got on the freeway and trusted millions, especially where we live, millions of people as I went from one location to the next. You trusted that, like it's the trust you don't think about, I think, that is the
exactly.
most alarming.
It's just because it's become like ingrained in our everyday activities. We just don't
Yeah.
really think about it. We just do it all. I guess that's part of it.
Yeah.
Like different times, everybody just doing their thing, following whatever laws. Usually, obviously, that doesn't always happen, but
No, but it is trippy to think of. And it's also terrible when like, accident. I'm not saying that any of them are like we want to try to be as preventative as possible, but like accidents happen. I get it. But what's even scarier is that when people maybe the people that understand that trust to be inherent are the ones that take advantage of it. You see what
yeah.
I'm saying? Like for those of us that are normal people, I don't want to say normal people because we don't have enough time left to talk through what makes me not normal. Well, actually, you guys caught a glimpse of it earlier when the cups were talking. But anyways, um, for the number of like the people that just trust because that's life, they're not aware of it. I think those are the fairly normal people that don't manipulate the system. But those that take advantage are the ones that are aware, like, oh, you do realize that I could just do this and then you would be dead, right? And you're like, huh?
Yeah, so
Why did you
what you're
say that?
saying is that people need to not trust me because I'm out here thinking about this.
At this point, yes, I think that's what we've clearly defined
Yeah,
because
maybe
you're
don't trust me.
conscious of the fact that they do. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that makes me feel a little bit bad about myself now. I'm not gonna lie.
Weren't expected to get that flipped around on you. You
Mm-mm.
came in with an innocent point about how we just blindly trust folks, and all along you're setting. Actually, that's exactly what someone who's untrustworthy would do. They would just talk all about how they blindly trust people all the time.
I don't trust any of you mother. None of y'all. But I mean, like another thing to me is, there's been all these like serial killers in the past, right? And I mean, there's obviously still people out there doing it, unfortunately, but in the past, and there's been like, I mean, you couldn't even probably put a number on the amount of robberies and whatnot. How many of those people do you think work for a delivery service? Like USPS, UPS, or FedEx, or one of the, whatever other countries have. I don't know.
I don't know. Why? Are
Because
you saying that they're
I'm not saying
more
that
apt?
no, no, no. I'm not saying that they're bad people or whatever. I'm saying they are delivering stuff to your house, especially now, like the age of delivery, right?
Yeah.
Uber Eats, any of those people, Grubhub, all that stuff. They're going to your home. They know where you live. You know what I mean? Not that they necessarily have a grudge against you, but they're going to roll up to your house and see where you live and make assumptions, right, based on your home. There's a very, I would imagine, high chance that somebody would rob or commit a crime.
Do we think that? Yeah, it'd be nice to see the statistics on that.
I'm just saying we trust those people not to do that.
Yeah, we do. Especially now they got the thing where they can just go in your garage and set it in there or
Yeah,
whatever.
like the Amazon delivery stuff or whatever.
Yeah. Although, did you see the FedEx guy that killed that girl?
No, so this is proving my point.
Oh my God, you didn't see? Yeah, this is terrible. This is a one-off. I mean, we have to share this, but this is a one-off because obviously this guy was like sick. He was a. It was kind of unrelated to the driving, except for it was his route. So I don't know all the details. I don't want to misspeak, but like apparently he like either bumped into this girl that was like 8 or 9. I think she was young in age. He either bumped into her, and she threatened to, like, she was out playing in her driveway, and she either threatened to tell her parents, or like he threatened her in some way because she ran out in front of him or something. And so he was paranoid about it. So he went back and he abducted her and killed her and left her somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just a sick person. That's not...
Yeah, I think that's an
But
anomaly.
but again, I mean
But he knew where
that
she was at.
exactly. He knew where she was gonna be because she was a
Yeah.
kid, and she was at her home, and he knew where she
Yeah.
lived.
So again, I don't know if this happened all in the same day, or if this was like proven to be a heat in the moment thing. I didn't really look at all the statistics, like all the not statistics, but all of the details on it. It was communicated to me. This is kind of like second, third hand. I read like the Yahoo Flash, which we know how trustworthy
Yeah.
that could be. So it wasn't Google telling me what was going on.
Right. It wasn't a Google. It was Yahoo, which is way
Yeah.
sketchy. Way sketchy.
I think they're making half their shit
Hold
up.
on. Who is still on Yahoo, bro? What were you
Listen,
on Yahoo
dude.
for?
So there's a plugin that's like on my Edge. Yeah, you're also asking yourself who uses Edge. But yeah, there's a plugin on Edge, which is the new Internet Explorer for those that are way too far removed to know that. And it's run by Yahoo, so that's where it came from. But
Man, you gotta set your Edge to run off, launch Google when it starts, bro.
I don't think that it will because it's a Microsoft program.
Oh, it will. Mine does.
Okay.
Anyways.
Anywho, yeah, so that was crazy. But back to your point. So that was probably a one-off, but like there was still a certain amount of assumed like good faith trust that was given in that circumstance that, what maybe wasn't warranted and could have protected her. I don't know. Also terrible for FedEx as a company. Even though he had nothing prior, or whoever it was, it might have been UPS. I don't want to call anybody out by name, but it was FedEx. Anyways, so like obviously he didn't have any like priors because like he wouldn't have gotten a job. But like, how crazy is that?
Yeah, no, that's wild and very sad. I feel very bad for her and her family. Don't feel bad for him though. I hope he rots. So.
Yeah, but maybe you will second guess. Also, I would say too, like the people that are dropping stuff off at our house, not now that we're really on a tangent, they're just so preoccupied with everything else that's going on. Like sometimes I'll be standing outside on the porch and they will just walk right by me and drop it by the door and then walk back out to the truck. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? And then they're gone. I'm like, see you later.
All right, bye.
So,
yeah, I mean, I've never had an issue with a delivery person. They've all been great. So it's just a thought in my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was one example of infinite granted trust that we don't think about.
Yeah. Well, all right, man. It's time to go through the numbers on this beer.
Okay. Let's wrap it. All right.
I have only drank one of these for this episode because they're so stout. So,
hence the name. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did not follow the cadence or the stereotypical route that I normally do that I laid out to everyone last week about input score, more sips, input, and then lastly check. But that's okay. Run you.
Yeah. All right. Man, let me run back through these real quick myself, because I'm gonna read these out again. This is because the score is higher than I think anything else I've done, but I think that's just because it lives up to the same brand that I associate a coffee stout with. So I have the entry at 5, the aftertaste at 5, the body at 5. I had the color at 6. I thought it was very nice color when you poured it. Bitterness I have at 5 again. Acidity I have at 3. I think there was like I said, there's like a little bit of a fruity taste in there for me somewhere.
Yep, I got you.
And I don't necessarily associate that with a coffee stout. So, and for fizz I had a 5, which brings my total to a 34. So that's the highest that I've given anything. Again, though, these ratings are just, or these scores are for how well they adhere to a
Your perception, say it.
yeah,
Your perception of a
yeah,
stout.
my perception of a coffee stout even. Um,
Ah,
so it
okay.
was so it was very on par for the most part.
Okay, I did go kind of standard stout, but I don't think it would have made a difference because I'm not a big. I don't know if I have enough of a palate or enough of an established foundation of coffee stouts to say, there's this much of a difference in how I would rate them. Entry, I had a 4. It was pretty approachable. Aftertaste, I had a 3. There seems to be like a linger of something that I just didn't sit perfect well. Body, 4. That's solid. Color, 5. I'll give it a great 5. Bitterness, I had a 2. I felt like you could have had a little more bite to it. Same with acidity. I felt like it was lacking a little bit. I got a 3. And then on fizz, right? Because we got to remember, um, that's where we've factored in the belch,
The Belch, yeah.
right? So I think we had a decent head. Like it flushed out the way that it should have. But I didn't get any. I have not been rewarded for my efforts of consumption thus far after a beer and a half.
So here's my thing
Um,
with that, real quick, is well, for me at least, normally like a stout like that doesn't make me burp a lot. Like a regular or like a a typical like light beer or a lager would. So that's
I don't
why
want
I
to.
put the fizz higher.
I also feel at times that it has impeded my ability to belch because I do have a little bit of a hurricane brewing in the old upper chest area.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so total, I come to a 23, which is not crazy. I don't know if there's a stout out. I'm not a massive stout winner. I don't know if there's a stout out there that for me is gonna get to a perfect score, just because I think I would find a way to find fault in all of them. Very subjective system here, but yeah, I would definitely find fault in them.
Okay, I'm actually gonna go back and drop my aftertaste from a 5 to a 4 as well
Oh, I see how it is.
for the same
So
reason.
I hope that I didn't sway you. I thought about bringing my fizz up, but instead I came up with some bogus ass point to justify my 2.
No, just because, I did say like when I think of a coffee stout, I think more of like a black coffee.
Hey, by the way, as you're explaining yourself, I just had the most epically ironic and enjoyable burp.
There
But
you
go
go.
ahead.
So
So
yeah, I think more of a coffee stout is like a black coffee flavor, and again, this one had like a little bit of a like a milky or a creamy aftertaste, which isn't bad. It's just not what I typically expect. Um, I think it's a good beer. I would buy it again situationally, personally.
I agree. I'd buy it again too. I would tell people about it, and I'd be like, "Hey, you should like if you like coffee stouts, you should try it." I would not start the conversation with, "Dear Lord, if you like coffee stouts, stay away from that." Absolutely not. I
Hmm.
would say if you like coffee stouts, give it a shot. I enjoyed it. You might enjoy it too.
In fact, and this is out of a can, and I bet it tastes even better straight off draft.
So one thing that I need to make note of now that you bring that up is there was a little bit because of how thick the head was. There was like this much that was left in the can after I poured it, and I drank it out of the can. It doesn't matter. It's been in the can, but it tasted better coming out of the can than it has out of the glass.
Okay.
Surprisingly, but that's because it's already canned. You're right. A
Yeah.
draft, I guarantee you, this is. It takes a 24. I did upgrade my fizz because of the burp. It's a 24. I guarantee you, a draft, it's easily a 30 for me. It'll gain 6 points across the board in a draft form.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah. I think. I think.
Right. Obviously, we'll have to test it, but um, man, what do I see myself doing with this one though? Uh, this to me, what I'm doing is it's like a this is like it's a weekend beer. It's not a weekday beer for me, but it's more of like a either a Saturday night or Sunday night movie night with. It's got to be cold outside because that's the only time I really enjoy stouts, honestly, to their full potential. So it's cold out, Saturday night, Sunday night, watching a movie with the fireplace on. Fireplace
Yeah,
has to be on. It's not negotiable.
so for me,
And I'm
I
only drinking
definitely
one. I'm only drinking one.
okay. Yes, I'm glad you say that. So this to me is people will have they'll have a fancy glass of cognac or they'll have a fancy glass of whiskey around a fire pit in like a down jacket, plaid down jacket, maybe some like sheep line. I don't know, it's just what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And some heavy duty pants, decent boots, but your feet are dry. You got them kicked up on the fire pit.
Almost like a little bit of a lumberjack vibe.
Yeah, but also in a classy setting. Because here's the thing: I don't want like a bunch of cinder blocks and like you're burning a bunch of old like framing timber. No, no, no.
Yeah.
Like classy logs, lumberjack style, mountainous. I can make this where I want to drink it. Okay, it's my dream. Mountainous, so the air is dry, but it's
Mm-hmm.
cool. Big, massive pine, like just piney woods to hell, but super clean, super fresh. And you're right. I'm doing instead of partaking in a whiskey, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna enjoy one of these, preferably bottled or glassed. I know that they probably don't do bottles, but that's what I want to do. Kick up the feet. You're warming up the toes in the purest, cleanest nature filter that ever existed. That's where I'm drinking this.
That's solid. I pictured that beautifully when you said it. So,
Yeah.
congratulations on storytelling. All right, we
I
got into the point of the podcast where I'm going to tell you to go follow us on socials. Follow us on Twitter at Off the Tap Pod and on Instagram at Off the Tap Podcast.
And with that, I'll pass it off. Don't be frightened by the fizz.